We begin now at the top of Daf Memhei Amid Beis Maseches Brachos. This is Berachos Daf 45b. The Gemara just finished quoting a brisa which said that a shamish does not need permission to join two people because presumably they would be happy that he is part of the zimun. And the Gemara tries to prove, you see from here, that two people can't make a zimun on their own because otherwise what do they need the shamish for? So the Gemara now answers a similar answer to what they answered to the previous brisa. No, they want the shamish to join them because that allows them to be not just say zimun but to be obligated in zimun, which is a higher level. And as Rashi said before, he says again, the gadol hamitzuva v'yoseh, it's greater to be obligated, to be commanded and to do a mitzvah rather than do it voluntarily. Gemara tries now to bring another proof. Again, the question here is machlokas between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, trying to prove whether two people can voluntarily make a zimun. Tashma, I'll bring a proof from the following brisa. Nashim mizamnos la'atzman, women can make a zimun on their own if you have women that eat together. Va'avadim mizamnon la'atzman, servants can make a zimun together. But however, nashim va'avadim katanim, if you have a mixture of women, servants, and minors, imratzu lazamin ein mizamnon, they cannot all make a zimun together. Rashi says that's considered pritzas. So the Gemara says, V'hameyo nashi k'trei gavrei damyan. But isn't 100 women the equivalent of 2 men? That's the Gemara's assumption, so then this would be a good proof. V'katani nashim mizamnos la'atzman v'avodim mizamnin li'atzman. So it says that women can make a zimun and together, and servants can make a zimun together. So presumably, if 100 women, let's say, can make a zimun together, then 2 men should be allowed to. So the Gemara answers, Shani hasam dika deos. No, it's different over there when the women are doing it, because you have many people. The fact that you have more than 2 people is what allows them to make a zimun. So essentially, we'll see Rashi how he explains the back and forth in the Gemara here, but essentially the Gemara initially assumes that 100 women are the same as 2 men, and then the Gemara says, no, it's different because you have deus. When you have more people, you can of course make a zimun. The Gemara then says, Yihachi, if so, let's look at the end. It said, Nashim v'avodim imratzu lazamin imazamnim, that women and servants together can't do it. Amai lo, why can't they do it together? V'ha'ika deus. Don't you have many people? That should be good for a zimun. The Gemara says, Shani hasam mishum pritzus, as we mentioned before, it's different over there because of pritzas that the women and the servants should make a zimun together. It looks like pritzas. So Rashi here explains what was going on with the Havamina when they said 100 women are like 2 men, and then they go back on it. So it says Dafilu meya ketrei damyan. Rashi says le'inyan chova. The Gemara initially means that as far as an obligation is concerned, dein chayavas lazamin, because women are not obligated to do zimun. Even if you say they can make a zimun, they're certainly not obligated. It's just if they want to, they could. Which is also the premise by 2 people. So therefore, the Gemara initially said, essentially the Gemara was saying the fact that women can voluntarily do it at all should show us that voluntary is okay, so 2 people could also. And then the Gemara answered back, the Ika Deos, you have many people, the Afagav Inyan Chova Einon Chayavos, even though as far as an obligation is concerned, they're not obligated, Le'inyan Rishus, Deos Shlosha Chashivi. Lahodos tfei mishnei anoshim. When it comes to the voluntary zimun, having 3 people is better to give thanks to Hashem, better than 2 men doing it. The Ika mishum gadu la'Hashem iti, because then at least you're being mekayim, the pasuk which says gadu la'Hashem iti, which implies at least 3 people. So essentially the Gemara initially says, what's the difference voluntary this way, voluntary that way? And then the Gemara says, no, there is a difference. Voluntary by 3 people is preferred over voluntary by 2 people. The Gemara now, as we said before, this was machlokas Rav and Rabbi Yochanan in terms of whether 2 people can voluntarily make a zimun. The Gemara wants to know who said what now. So the Gemara says, Tistayim, let us conclude the Rav de Amar imratzu lazamin ein mizamnin, that Rav's the one who says, he's the opinion that says that 2 people cannot voluntarily make a zimun. The Amar Rav Dimi bar Yosef Amar Rav, because Rav Dimi bar Yosef said in the name of Rav, Shlosha sha'achlu ka'achas, if you have 3 people that eat together, v'yatza echad mehem l'shuk, and one of them goes out to the marketplace, korin lo mizamnin olav. They can call to him and they can make a zimun with him. Rashi explains that he doesn't even need to come to them, he just needs to turn to them, turn his attention there, and he can be part of the zimun. So the Gemara says as follows, this is a statement of Rav, the Gemara deduces as follows, time of the korin lo, the only reason they can make a zimun is because they call him. Hello korin lo lo, but if they don't call him, they can't make a zimun. Again, implying 2 people can't make a zimun. Gemara again answers, Shani hasam dikvulu b'chova meikar. It's different over there. They were obligated initially. Once they're obligated initially, they want to stay in their original state of being obligated, of chiyuv, rather than lower themselves to a voluntary zimun. So then the Gemara says, Ela Tistayim, the Rabbi Yochanan who damar im ratzul azam im azam. Let's go the other way. Let's say that Rabbi Yochanan's the one that says that two people cannot voluntarily make a zimun. Diyamar Rava bar bar Chana amar Rabbi Yochanan, because Rava bar bar Chana said, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Shnayim she'achlu ka'achas, two people eat together, echad mehen yotzei bebirchas chavero. What they do is one person makes the bracha and the other person is yotzei. So the Havinan Basa, we ask on that statement of Rabbi Yochanan, my kamashma, what's he teaching us? Tanina, we know that from a Mishnah, Shama velo ana yatsa, a person can listen to someone else make a bracha even without answering, and he could be yotzei. It's shomea ka'ona, a person can listen to someone else's bracha. V'yamar Rabbi Zera answered to that, lomar she'in birchas hazimun beinayim. Rabbi Yochanan's point was that the two people can do this method where one listens to the other, but they cannot make a zimun. Testayim, and the Gemara says that is a good proof. We can conclude that it was Rabbi Yochanan who says that two people cannot make a voluntary zimun. Amar le Rava bar Rav Huna le Rav Huna. So Rava, the son of Rav Huna, said to Rav Huna, "V'harabanan da'asum mima Rava." But we know that the scholars who come from the west, who come from Eretz Yisrael, Amri imratzu lazamin mezamnin, they say that if somebody wants to make a zimun, if two people want to make a zimun, they could make a zimun. Now the Gemara says, "My lav, is it not the shmiya lehume Rabbi Yochanan?" They must have heard this from Rabbi Yochanan. What do you mean they must have heard this from Rabbi Yochanan? So Rashi explains, Lav d'shmiya lehume Rabbi Yochanan debar ma'arava. He was also from the west. He was from Eretz Yisrael. De'ilu Rav bevavel have. Rav lived in Bavel. Uvnei ma'arava heicha shmiyalu. So how did the people of the west? How did they hear? Essentially, Rabbi Yochanan was the leading scholar in Eretz Yisrael, and they all did this. So most likely they followed Rabbi Yochanan, so it would seem on the contrary. It seemed that Rabbi Yochanan would allow a zimun with two people. So the Gemara answers, Lo, no, d'shmiya lehume Rav, mikame denachas leBavel. They may have heard it from Rav before he went down to Bavel. In other words, Rav is really the one who holds that two people can voluntarily make a zimun, and Rav, even though he was famous as being a leading scholar of Bavel, he did not always live in Bavel. He did live in Eretz Yisrael first, and then later in his life, he went down to Bavel. The Gemara now continues at the two dots. Kufa, Amar Rav Dimi Bar Yosef Amar Rav. Rav Dimi Bar Yosef said in the name of Rav, as we quoted before, Shlosha she'achlu ka'achas, if three people eat together, v'yotza echad mehem l'shuk, one of them goes out to the marketplace, korin lo u'mizamnin olav. You can call him, and he can be part of the zimun, and as we mentioned, he doesn't even need to come, he just needs to turn his attention. Amar Abai, so Abai says, v'hu dekaru le'vioni, but you still need to call out to him, and he needs to answer. It's not enough that he just turns toward them, he needs to answer to the zimun. So Amar Mar Zutra said, V'lo amran ela b'shlosha. This is only true by three. Aval bi'asara, but when you make a zimun with 10 people, ad denaisi, there we're not so lenient. There he actually has to come and join them. So when it comes to a zimun of 3 people, so then he could just turn his attention and he can answer. When it comes to a zimun of 10 people, of course, is where we add a lokenu, we add Hashem's name. There he needs to actually come and join them. So Ma'askiv lo Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi asks, Adrav, on the contrary, Ifcham estabra, the opposite is more logical. Tisha nirin kasara, shnayim ein nirin kashlosha. When you have 9 people, it appears like you have 10. The difference between 9 and 10 is very hard for the eye to discern. So who cares if the guy comes over or not? By 2 people, it's very easy to see that you have 2 and not 3. So there's where we should really obligate the third person to come over. But the Gemara says, but the halacha actually, in fact, is like Mar Zutra, that we're more strict by 10. Even though Rav Ashi asked that the opposite should be more logical, in fact, we go like Mar Zutra. My time, and what is the reason? Kevan de Bailad Kure Shem Shamayim, because since you need to mention Hashem's name in a zimun of 10, Batzer Me'asara Lav Orachar. It's not proper derech eretz to mention Hashem's name without 10 people present, and therefore we are actually strict, and we require the person to come over and be part of the zimun in the same space. Amar Abai says, Naketinon Shnayim Sha'achlu Ka'achas Mitzvah Lecholik. Says the halacha actually is, Abai says that when 2 people eat together, it is a mitzvah for them to divide up. They should not make a zimun, and we do not hold like the opinion that voluntarily they can make a zimun. Tanya Namihach, we have a brayso like this as well. Shnayim shachlu ka'achas mitzvah lecholik. 2 people eat together as one; they should divide, and each should bench on his own. Ba'med devarim amurim k'shashneim sofer. Now this is actually only true when they're both scholars. Aval echad sofer ve'echad bor. But if one is a scholar and one doesn't really know how to bench, sofer mevarech ubor yotze. Then the scholar, the sofer, should make the bracha, and the bor can be yotze. He can listen along because he's not able to bench on his own. But in a normal situation where both people are able to bench, they should divide up and each should bench to himself. Gemara now continues at the 2 dots. Amar Rava says, Hamilsa Amrisa Ana. The following thing I said, Vitamra Mishmei Rabbi Zera Kavas, and I heard that Rabbi Zera was said in the name of Rabbi Zera, just like I said. The following halacha: Shlosha Sha'achlu Ka'achas Echad Mafsik L'Shnayim Ve'in Shnayim Mafsikin L'Echad. If 3 people eat together as one, so one person has to stop for 2, but 2 people do not have to stop for 1. Rashi Rashi explains this as follows. Rashi says, Echad mafsik l'shnayim means, Im gamru hashnayim sudasan. Let's say the two people that are eating, two of the three finish their meals. V'rotzin lazamin. They want to make a zimun. Derech eretz hu sheyehu echad mafsik es sudaso ad sheyizamnu olav ad birchas hazon. It's proper derech eretz that the one person should stop his meal to join the other two, since he's in the minority, and he should wait till they get through the bracha of hazon, the first bracha, the hainu birchas zimun. That's all part of the zimun. V'chozer v'gomer sudaso. Then he could finish his meal. Aval shnayim ein aleim lahafsik b'shvil hayachid v'yamten ad sheyigmru. But if you have one person who wants to bench, two people, they don't have an obligation to stop for one person. There's no halacha of derech eretz that two people need to stop their meal because the first person finished early. So the Gemara says, "V'lo," but is that really true that two people don't stop for one? V'Rav Papa ifsik leila Abamar berei. Rav Papa stopped for Abamar, who was his son, Iyu v'chad, and it was him and one other person. Meaning, Rav Papa and another person stopped their meal when Rav Papa's son was finished. So you see that two people do stop for one person. Gemara says, "Shani Rav Papa." Rav Papa is different to lifnim mishuras hadin hu daven. In that case, he was going lifnim mishuras hadin. He was going beyond the letter of the law. Of course, he didn't have to stop, but he did it. He went beyond the letter of the law, and the person wants to stop, they're certainly allowed to stop. Yehuda bar Mereimar, Umar bar Ravashi, v'Ravachami Difti. So these were three Amoraim: Yehuda the son of Mereimar, Mar the son of Ravashi, and Ravacha from Difti. Karchi rifta bahade hadadi. They were eating together bread. Lo have behuchad have a muflag mechavre levruchelu. And there was no one of them that was more esteemed than the other one that should lead them in the benching. We're going to see later on that the greatest person of the group should always lead the benching. So they didn't have anyone to lead. Nobody was more distinguished than anybody else. They asked the following question: when it says three people eat together as one, they have to do zimun. That's if one of them is great. But if they're all the same, maybe it's better that we should divide up brachos. So therefore, baruch inish lenafshe. Some have the text baruch inish lenafshe. The point is, each one made their own bracha. They didn't make a zimun. Also lakame de Mereimar. So then they went before Mereimar. One of the Amoraim was Yehuda, the son of Mereimar. So they went in front of Mereimar, and he said to them, Amar Lu, he said to them, Yedei bracha yitzasem, yedei zimun lo yitzasem. You were yotze bracha, you were yotze benching, but you did not fulfill the mitzvah of zimun. V'chi tamer nahadru nezamin. And if you're going to say, let us go and do zimun again, ein zimun l'mafrei. You can't do zimun retroactively. You missed out. Now, the Gemara now asks the following question: What if somebody comes and he sees people, just somebody from the Rashi says, someone from the marketplace comes and he sees three people making a zimun? What should he answer to their zimun? Rav Zvid Amar Baruch umevorach. Rav Zvid says he should say the words Baruch umevorach. The idea Rashi explains, he can't say that he ate with them, can't say Shachalnu mishalo, but at least he could say Baruch umevorach. Rav Papa Amar Ona Amen. Rav Papa says he should say Amen. But the Gemara says, Velo pligi. These two opinions are actually not arguing. They're talking in different scenarios. Hadash kechinu deka amri nevarech, v'hadash kechinu deka amri baruch. It depends what part of the zimun you're up to. In the first line where you say nevarech shachalnu shalo, that's what one of the Amorim was talking about. And the other Amor was talking about where you hear the response, baruch shachalnu shalo v'tochayinu. Then what do you say to that? And the Gemara elaborates, Ashkechinu deka amri nevarech. If you hear them on the first line, nevarech shachalnu shalo, omer baruch umevorach. That's where you say baruch umevorach. Essentially makes sense, because you say, if they all say nevarech, let us make a blessing, you say back a blessing, baruch mevorach. Ashkechinu dekamri baruch. When you hear them saying baruch shachalim shalom v'tochayinu, so baruch shachalim shalom, then ona amen. Then you're hearing a bracha, so you say amen to the bracha. So it's logical to make this distinction. The Gemara says, Tani Chada, we learned in one brayso, Ha'ona Amen Achar Berchosav Hareza Meshubach. If somebody answers Amen after his own brachos, it's praiseworthy. But Tanya Idach, but we have another brayso, Hareza Magun, it's degrading. A person should not answer Amen to his own brachos. That's what other people are supposed to do. So the Gemara answers, Lokash is not difficult. Habiboni Yerushalayim Havishar brachos. It's different because in a situation where you're making a bracha, Boni Yerushalayim, you can answer Amen to your own bracha. But all the other brachos you can't. What's the difference between them? So Rashi explains as follows. Ha bebonei Yerushalayim shehi sof habrachas. It's the end of the brachas of benching. Now, there is another bracha of benching, the bracha of Atov HaMeitiv, but we'll see why that doesn't count. Hareza Meshubach. Anyway, it's praiseworthy when you're at the end of benching to say Amen to your own bracha. V'chein b'sof birchas tekriya shema, brachas tekriya shema, shachars v'yavis. Rashi then says, he adds, it's also true, it's not only by Boni Yerushalayim, but in birchas kriya shema, for example, if you were at the end of the last bracha, the birchas of birchas kriya shema, you can answer Amen to your own bracha. V'achar kol birchos of the katani b'brais hareza Meshubach. When it says that that it's good to say Amen to your own brachas. Achar gemar kol berachos of kamer. That just means when you finish a whole string of brachas. V'achar kol berachos v'dekatani harezim meguna. When it says it's degrading to say Amen to your brachas, that's besov kol bracha bracha kamer. That's the end of each individual bracha. You shouldn't say Amen to your own brachas. The Gemara now continues. Abaya ani le bekola. Abaya would say Amen very loud. Ki hechi delishmu poalim v'leikumu. In order that the workers should hear him and they should get up and go to their work. To hatov ha'metiv lav d'oraisa, because he held that hatov ha'metiv is not midoraisa. As we mentioned, hatov ha'metiv is of a lower level than the other brachas, and the workers should not wait for hatov ha'metiv to go do their work. They have an obligation to do their work properly. So he would say Amen very loudly after Boni Yerushalayim, so the workers would realize the next part of benching they can leave for and they can resume their work. Rashi here explains, V'leikumu lavidatayu. They went to their work. If he's worried that he's taking them out from the bracha of Hatov HaMetiv, lo ichbis, he didn't mind that. The kasavar lav d'oraisa, he held it's not d'oraisa. Ela b'yavna tiknu al haruge beitar sheninu l'kvura. It was a later addition. It was later takon and yavna, because it was they were misakin it because of those who were killed in Beitar. That even though there was a tragedy, they were killed, but they were at least able to be buried. So they had this bracha of Hatov HaMetiv. So that was the practice of Abai. He would say it loudly so the workers would know that benching was over for them. Rav Ashi, ani le belachish. On the other hand, Rav Ashi, he would say it quietly, because he actually didn't want that they should be mezalzel on Hatov HaMetiv. He didn't want people to treat it like a lowly bracha. Rashi says, Rav Ashi, ani lahu amen belachisha, kihechi delo lishmu v'yedu shesham gemar habrachos v'yazalzel Hatov HaMetiv. On the contrary, he didn't want them to make a light of this bracha of Hatov HaMetiv. Now the Rashi concludes, nevertheless, since it is actually the end of his brachas, and the Brisa says that it's praiseworthy to say Amen, he didn't want to not answer Amen, so instead he would answer Amen quietly. We'll continue this discussion on Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph in the next video.